Hello and welcome. Thank you for participating in Morehead at Home Skywatching, hosted by Morehead Planetarium and Science Center. My name is Amy Sale. I'm an educator at Morehead. We are a unit of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, located on campus. We also work throughout the state through a number of outreach initiatives like our mobile lab van, summer camp programs, and the annual North Carolina Science Festival. Our mission is to help people better understand science, technology, and health, and we do this through engaging learning opportunities like this live virtual event. We're happy to have you here for our program on Spot the Station, and Nick will get us started.
Hey everybody, thanks Amy. Welcome to Morehead at Home Skywatching. We're excited you're with us today. And as Amy mentioned, we're talking all about Spot the Station, or Spot the International Space Station. So if you were up on your space news, you might have heard that just a couple days back, Sunday afternoon, we had astronauts return to Earth from the International Space Station. So we wanted to share a little bit about that return journey and talk about how you can find the space station in your sky tonight if everything is clear. So before we get into it, I do want to let you know that if you have questions throughout our presentation today, we want you to ask them, and we'll take some time towards the end to answer. The best way for you to ask them is to use the Q&A function, which if you're on a computer, it's at the bottom of your screen. And if you're on your phone, it's at the top of your screen. And that way you can type whatever you're thinking about, and we will try to take some time towards the end to answer those. We will also be asking you some questions and putting some links in the chat for you. So be ready to maybe copy those over so that you can check them out later. I'm going to share my screen and show you an image of something. And we have a question for you right off the bat here.
We do. You'll see on your screen a question popped up. Have you ever seen the International Space Station? Yes, no, or maybe you're not sure. And we're not talking about the picture, whether you've seen a picture of it like we're showing you now, but have you actually seen it in the sky? So let us know.
There's no right answer. This is, we're just kind of curious. And you'll see why, because as we teach you about how to find it, maybe you'll realize maybe I have seen it before, but we'll try to set you up with the right tools. Okay.
Well, Nick, it looks like nearly half of people have seen it before. Quite a few people say no, and there are a few that are not quite sure.
And that's great. I actually kind of like the mix because, as we mentioned, hopefully today we'll give you some tools for learning a little bit more about this thing. But as Amy said, this image that you're seeing on the screen right now is not quite how you would see the International Space Station in your sky. But this is an image of our orbiting science laboratory. It's an international collaboration between the United States, the European Space Agency, Canada, Russia, Japan. A number of countries work and learn on this piece of equipment, and it's home to a number of astronauts at a time, and it's been up there in orbit and functional for almost 20 years now. So it's one of, I think, the coolest things humans have ever done. I don't know, I'll editorialize a little bit there because it's so neat that we're able to, launch this very large and complex piece of equipment into orbit around the Earth and learn from it and travel to it. But along with, how cool it is, we also think it's pretty cool because you can see it in your sky. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we move along here. But Amy, I know you wanted to speak to just how big this thing is, maybe some statistics about it.
Yeah, so some basic facts about the International Space Station. As you look at this picture, imagine placing it inside a football stadium, because it's roughly the length of a football field, including most of the end zones. You can see the curvature of Earth. It's not super far away from Earth, but it is roughly 250 miles off the surface of Earth. And that is way higher than an airplane flies, if you've ever been in an airplane. It's moving fast, over 17,000 miles an hour, about 5 miles a second. It orbits, because it's moving so fast, it completes an orbit of Earth in about 90 minutes. And as Nick mentioned, there's lots of scientific research going on board with research investigations from more than 100 countries. And I think, Nick, you've got a really cool image of something special.
Yeah, so the reason why we're talking about this today is because it kind of relates to some missions that have been happening for the past few months. You might remember, if you were with us back in late May, that NASA and SpaceX launched this Falcon 9 rocket with 2 astronauts on board. This happened on May 30th. It was historic for a number of reasons. It was the first launch done on US soil since the retirement of the Space Shuttle program almost 10 years ago. And up kind of at the top of that rocket there, that's the Crew Dragon Endeavour capsule. And inside in this image were 2 astronauts, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. And they took this historic ride up to the International Space Station, and they made it safely and autonomously docked to the space station, got on board with the crew members that were already there. And then we're up there for a couple months doing all sorts of cool work. But it's so you might remember that kind of current event. But the way it ties back to right now, well, here, we want to show you this, by the way. I don't want to skip it. Here they are, actually up there. Our 2 NASA astronauts are Bob right here, Doug in the middle, and this is Chris Cassidy. He's also a NASA astronaut, and he was just already on board the space station when the Crew Dragon capsule got there. So Bob and Doug got to join Chris as they went up there, and they're really impressive astronauts. You know, they have backgrounds in the military. They were test pilots. They flew on the space shuttles. You know, a little more than a decade ago. So these were a good choice to send up to the ISS on this historic mission. And they did some cool stuff when they were there, didn't they, Amy?
They did. So the Bob and Doug were up there not only with Chris Cassidy, but also 2 Russian cosmonauts as well. And Bob and Doug contributed to 4 spacewalks to install batteries, and contributed to several scientific experiments that were happening. One about water droplet formation, which has applications for low flow shower head technology. Because when you have a low flow shower head, you want people to not take longer showers to compensate for what they feel like the feeling of water is coming out. So that was research related to that. They also used fruit punch and foam to study fluids in space, with fruit punch basically being a stand-in for studying urine. And how to manage waste from urine. And they also helped install some new equipment inside the space station to support later research as well.
So they were busy. They were busy along with testing the spacecraft and the autonomous docking and all that stuff. They had work to do when they were up there on the space station. But their trip was kind of short, all things considered, because on Sunday afternoon, they returned home. So here's an image of the Dragon capsule with its 4 big parachutes landing in the Gulf of Mexico, kind of off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. So on Sunday, I think it was about 2:48 p.m. I think that was the exact time. They landed in the water. And you notice the parachutes definitely helped them slow down. I'll show you why that's important in a moment. But this was historic in its own way, because this was the first time since 1975 that we had a water landing of a capsule, or a splashdown of a capsule with humans in it. Ever since then, people have been returning to Earth on land. And that's an important distinction. It's not the first time in 45 years that humans have returned. It's just the first time they've splashed down since 1975. So I think that image of the parachutes is really, really cool. But I think this one might be even cooler. Because you can see up close and in detail the Dragon capsule, and you can see that it is scorched. You know, NASA made a really big point with this mission to say our mission wasn't complete when we successfully launched and got to the ISS. It was complete once these guys got safely home. And that's a really good point, because re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere is one of the most dangerous times of a space flight. You're moving at really intense speeds, which means the heat shield and the outside of the spacecraft is heating up to intense temperatures as they move back towards the Earth. So there's a number of things about this capsule that, you know, in its design that make sure to keep these guys safe when they're inside. But it's kind of stressful when you're coming back into the Earth's atmosphere. And I think they were probably pretty grateful to, to splash down. But I don't know, Amy, did you get to see the landing in the ocean?
I did. I happened to tune in online to NASA TV literally 3 seconds before they splashed down. So I saw the parachutes deployed. I could see the water, I could see the capsule, and I got to see it come down. And there was much clapping. It was very exciting.
Yeah, lots of excitement, and seeing the parachutes is exciting. Seeing how crispy the capsule looks right now is exciting. But I think the most exciting part is that Bob and Doug got home safe. This is the first picture of them once they opened up the capsule. They look pretty chill, all things considered. I think, but I know that heavy G load on the way back home definitely has an effect, and they're probably still readjusting to Earth's gravity right now. But hopefully safe in their homes and not in some sort of isolation. So we thought that was really neat. It is really exciting to conclude this part of the mission that way. We will explain a little bit later that the mission of the ISS is not done. What's next is more crew shifts. Now that the SpaceX capsule has gotten back to Earth safely, they plan on sending it up again, even as soon as late September. With 4 more astronauts on board. There's also a kind of switcheroo that's going to happen this fall between astronauts that are still on the space station, those 2 cosmonauts and Chris Cassidy that Amy mentioned, with some other astronauts that are ready and waiting to launch here on Earth. So this is exciting news because the science is going to go forward, new astronauts are going to get up to the station, and the work will continue.
And so the fun thing about the space station is that you can see it sometimes from just wherever you live. And the reason is it doesn't actually create light, but it reflects sunlight. You can see those solar panels, they reflect sunlight really well. And if you happen to be looking at the right time in the few hours after sunset or the few hours before sunrise, sometimes the space station will make what is called a visible pass, meaning it's still being lit up by the sun, bright enough to see against a sky that's dark for you. And if you are watching this with us live on Tuesday, August 4th, from North Carolina, there are 2 good passes coming up, one tonight, and it looked like clouds might be a little patchy across the state of North Carolina, but you might have an option to watch it tonight if your sky is clear, and also tomorrow night, August 5th. So we're going to show you kind of what it looks like and how you can get the details for yourself, no matter where you live. And Nick, I think you're going to show us the program Stellarium that we have used a fair amount on this program before.
Yep. So you're going to see things move in just a moment here and kind of shift. So sorry to take you away from that beautiful image of the space station. But as Amy mentioned, this is called Stellarium. It's our flat screen planetarium for the time being. And it's a really neat program. I think we dropped the link in the chat for y'all if you want to explore it yourself. It's free, open source, and it's a way to simulate how your nighttime sky looks. So just to orient you, if it's your first time with us, we're looking up at the sky as it would look right now from somewhere like Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And when I say right now, that means our date is August 4th. Wow, I cannot believe it's August. It's still 2020 though. And it's a little after 10 a.m., almost 10:15 a.m. And we're facing towards the south. Now that's important because, the cardinal direction that you're facing is going to affect what you see kind of right in front of you in the sky. So in this view, on our right is west, on our left is east, and south is right in front of us. The horizon is where the sky meets the ground. That's kind of this curved line between the green and the blue, for lack of a better description. And the top of the sky, the zenith, same thing, zenith just means the top of our sky, is somewhere around right here. So you notice that we don't have a good northern view right now, but that's okay for our purposes because these ISS passes that we're going to help describe to you are going to be visible in this view. Okay, so what do you think, Amy? Should we get to it? Should we make it nighttime?
Yeah, so if you want to see the ISS, well, it would be helpful if your sky were dark enough. So let's make the Earth rotate here. We're pretending to speed up time. You'll see the sun appear and move across the sky just like it does during the day, although it doesn't move across the sky this fast. We're doing a little time travel.
Yeah, you see the clock speeding up down there. That's one indication.
And then you'll also notice the moon is just past full. Full moons rise right around sunset. Just past full moons rise a little bit after sunset. So sunset tonight for Chapel Hills, 8:17 p.m. The moon's going to rise roughly an hour later, 9:20 p.m.
So we saw the sun kind of appear to dip behind that big tree there, but now you should start to see some bright points of light appearing, and keep your eye out for that moon label that Amy mentioned.
Rising in the east-southeast. And Stellarium marks brighter objects with bigger dots and tends to also label bright objects. You see that the moon is labeled, 2 planets, Saturn and Jupiter, Jupiter especially quite bright. And then it's also labeled 2 of the brightest stars in the night sky, Vega and Arcturus.
But we have a visitor in the sky. And that is really what we wanted to point you to tonight. So in Stellarium, it's really great. You can just click on it and track where it goes in the sky. But I know we wanted to talk a little bit about what this visible pass really, really looks like. So I've kind of slowed us down to real time, by the way. We're not speeding up time, but you notice that second by second here, the space station still appears to move throughout our sky. So there is kind of a tight window of time where you can see these passes, but we're going to try our best to set you up to make sure you can catch it.
So this is we're showing you Chapel Hill, North Carolina. In a little while later, we're going to ask you if you live in North Carolina or not. If you live in North Carolina, this is roughly the view you're going to see, even if you don't live exactly in Chapel Hill. And we'll show you later how to get exact predictions for where you are. It'll look like a white, bright, moving star. Of course, it's not going to have a blue box around it when you look at it. The blue box is just to draw your attention to it on the Stellarium screen. You'll notice it first appeared a little bit north of west. Technically, you might be able to see it tonight as early as 9:28 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be easier, though, once it gets to be about 9:30, which is the view we're showing you right here. It'll be fairly high in the west around by 9:30 p.m. And you're going to see it's very bright, roughly Jupiter level bright. It'll be brighter than the star Arcturus, that it's going to look like it's kind of cruising under. And then it's going to take a few minutes to work its way across the sky. So 9:28 is when you first might notice it. 9:30 is going to be easier. And then at that point, it'll take 3 more minutes to work its way across the sky. And depending on your view and your screen, it might look like it's kind of jumping and jerking. To your eye, it's going to be more smooth. And Nick, you just sped it up, I see, a little bit to get us moving there.
Yeah.
And you'll see that it'll look like it's kind of disappearing. What it's going to do in another few moments is that it'll look like it's disappearing into Earth's shadow. And so it'll actually sort of blink out from view right when it gets kind of near Jupiter and Saturn. So this is tonight's pass, Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. 9:28, 9:30 is going to be easier to 9:33 p.m. And you can see that it passed pretty high in the sky. And by high in the sky, I mean high relative to the horizon. So not lost in the trees, but high enough to probably clear buildings and trees where you live.
So we could show you that just one more time, sped up a little bit. Rising north of west. Oh my goodness, I'd sped it up too much. It was rising north of west, and then yeah, even especially in Stellarium, if you're time traveling like a wild man here, it goes pretty fast. But that 9:30 to 9:33 time, you can see you have some good landmarks or star marks, I guess, star and planet marks to track it across your sky. But tonight's not the only pass, right, Amy?
There is a really good one for Central North Carolina tomorrow night, even better, assuming clear skies or clear enough skies. Yeah, can we take a look at August 5th? So
sure. So
Wednesday, August 5th. So can you do Stellarium magic?
We can do the magic. This is something you couldn't usually do, but I'm just going to move us one day forward. Things shifted a little bit, but I also, to catch this pass, have to move us back in time.
This one happens, well, it's still kind of evening twilight, but it's actually a really bright pass. So the one for tonight, August 4th, 9:30 p.m. to 9:33 p.m. The one for tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 5th, going to pass from the northwest to the southeast. Nick, it looks like you've got it highlighted. It's going to be a little bit earlier, 8:43 p.m. to 8:47 p.m. And it's going to pass, basically the space station is flying almost exactly over Chapel Hill. So it's going to look like it's passing over the top of our sky. And what's fun is it's actually going to end up looking like it's passing through or kind of between Saturn and Jupiter. And Nick, I don't think the space station is anywhere close to these planets, right?
It's not as fun as it would be to, be flying around the moons of Saturn and Jupiter or getting close to the gas giants. It's just appearing in the same direction from our perspective.
Yeah, so planets, we're talking many millions of miles away. Stars, we're talking trillions of miles away. Space station, only 250 miles or so above the surface of Earth. And Nick, we should probably mention, I've been saying it looks like a bright white moving star. And usually people say it moves faster than they were expecting. And I want to mention what it doesn't look like, because there are lots of things that you might see in the sky that are not the space station. So for example, it is not an airplane. It will not have flashing lights. It will not have red lights. It will not have green lights. If you're seeing flashing lights, red light, green light, and it's moving, probably you're looking at an airplane. It won't be a fast streak of light. It's not like a meteor or a shooting star. Those, by the time somebody goes, "Woo, I saw one," the person with you will look and it's too late. It's not too late to see the space station. It takes several minutes. Also, it's not a point of light that stays in exactly the same spot. If it's not moving over a few minutes, you're probably looking at a star or a planet instead. So you're looking for what looks like a bright moving star.
Yeah, I think that's a really good clarification. I will say ISS is not the only satellite that you might see, but for the most part, it'll be the brightest one.
That is a great point, Nick, because I actually saw the Hubble Space Telescope out at Jordan Lake not too long ago. There are other satellites as well.
Here's that cool apparent pass right in between Saturn and Jupiter. That's pretty neat.
Nice. So that's,
and always remember to wave at the space station. Even though Bob and Doug came home, there are still people up there. So I always like to wave at them.
Definitely. Okay, so can we show people how to find predictions for their location in case, probably not everybody watching lives in Chapel Hill or maybe lives in North Carolina.
Yeah. Stellarium is really useful, but we have an even better tool for you. We're going to share a web page. So here it goes. This is it. This is our best resource for figuring things out about the space station. It's easy to remember, and we put it in the chat for you. It is spotthestation, all one word, .nasa.gov. And this website is incredibly useful, and I figured we wanted to kind of walk you through some things about it. It has a lot of cool individual parts. You can track live where the ISS is. You can learn some of the science behind how to spot the station. Amy, do you think we should try this live ISS tracking and see where it is right now?
Let's find out.
Okay, cool. We'll hope this loads for us here. It's really neat because, even if it's not flying overhead where you are, it looks like we're over Western Europe. Okay. So here we are, and this is a live look. I know this map can be kind of confusing. It kind of looks like we squished the globe and flattened it out. You can see, part of our Earth, especially, China, Japan, India. It's nighttime there, but right here in North Carolina, it's daytime. But the space station is not over us right now. So this is a neat way to kind of track it as you go. There's a great section on frequently asked questions. This whole site is great for y'all to explore, but we have kind of a more specific way to find out where you're looking. But we're curious. We want to know if you live in North Carolina, because obviously we're giving a North Carolina perspective here, but that's not the only place where you can see the space station from. So we wanted to check.
All right. We are going to show you predictions specifically for Chapel Hill, but you can come back to this site and type in wherever you live. If you want to see, well, is it a little bit different for Raleigh or for Pittsburgh or for Wilmington or for who knows where you are, Kentucky, California. Okay. All right. Most everybody is in North Carolina, but there's more than one person who isn't. Okay, interesting.
Cool.
Okay, well, that was good to know, but it looks like for most of you, what we're going to show you will be directly relevant to being able to see the space station tonight. So what are we going to do, Nick? How are we going to find out?
We are going to use this map. Explore and find sighting opportunities. That's exactly what we want to do. What we want to try is typing in a specific place, right? I know it's already labeled here, but I'm going to type it in just for posterity. Make sure to choose
a lot of Chapel Hills.
the right Chapel Hill, Orange County, North Carolina. There we are. Now, this is a really important part. You kind of have this like pin. It looks like a Google Maps pin. You actually have to click on that once your location is set in the map. And once you click on that, you can click on View Sighting Opportunities, and it takes you to the real gold mine of information.
Okay, and we want to really break this down, and everybody, you have been warned. We're going to ask you in a couple of minutes a question to test your understanding. Okay, so we're gonna bring you through this. You'll see that it's telling you your location, that you want to spot the station from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and it says the following ISS sightings are possible from Monday, August 3rd. Well, that's already passed, through Wednesday, August 19th. So let's look for the next one. Okay, Tuesday, August 4th, 9:30 p.m. And so they're telling you that's when it's going to start. Now, remember, you can actually potentially see it actually at 9:28, but the NASA Spot the Station site likes to be a little conservative and try to set you up for success. So you're going to be more likely to first spot it at 9:30. The next column tells you how long it's visible, 3 minutes. And then so from 9:30 to 9:33 p.m. And this is your local time. So Chapel Hill's in Eastern time. So this is referring to Eastern time. Then it says max height. So max means maximum. And height doesn't mean like height of a person. It doesn't even mean how high the space station is above the ground. What it means is how high will it look in your sky? And you'll see that it says 46 and it's got that degree symbol, that little circle that means degrees. And you're thinking, wait, 46 degrees, that sounds like temperature, like a cold temperature. But it's actually referring to a distance. So 46 degrees, let's break this down. So if something's near the horizon, if it's really low to the ground, looking like it's on the horizon where the sky meets the ground, that is 0 degrees. Now, if something's near the top of the sky, well, I'm going to ask Nick this question. Nick, what angle is this? I know you've taken a lot of math.
That looks like a right angle to me. So 90
how many degrees up is something that's at the top of the sky? What do you think?
Oh, you're asking me, not
I am asking you, yeah. I'm hoping everybody else is answering too to their screens.
Yeah, so that right angle looks to me about like 90 degrees.
90 degrees, yeah. So top of the sky, the zenith, if something passes over the zenith, that would mean its maximum height above the horizon was 90 degrees. So 46 degrees, what do you think, Nick?
Well, about half of that 90-degree angle is a 45-degree angle. It looks like you got that pretty close.
Yeah, so maximum height on August 4th tonight, if you're watching live, the space station will get as high as about halfway up the sky. It tells you when it appears. You'll first see it at 9:30 p.m., 30 degrees in the west, so roughly in the same direction that the sun had set. So maybe a third of the way up the sky. It'll reach a maximum height of about halfway up the sky, 46 degrees. It'll disappear 22 degrees above the sky in the south-southeast. Okay, but I know we're running out of time, but we have a poll question we're going to ask you in just a moment, so get ready. I'm going to ask you to look at the next line, Wednesday, August 5th. And it said the maximum height for that pass is going to be 88 degrees. So the poll says on Wednesday, August 5th, for viewers in Chapel Hill, the ISS will have a maximum height of 88 degrees. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the highest the space station will appear in the sky will be very low, near the horizon, or about halfway up the sky, or very high, near the top of the sky? So give it your best guess, put in your answers, and we will start taking a look at your questions too while you're doing that.
Yeah, I see so many good ones. Yeah, we wanted to give you a little bit of a math test here because then when you read these charts in the future, you're going to be able to know where to look. And that's really what we want to set you up. set you up for. All right.
Right, most of y'all got it. Actually near the top of the sky, because 90 degrees is the very top of the sky and 88 would be very close to that. So that Wednesday, August 5th pass is a fabulous one if your sky is clear and you are in central North Carolina. Okay, and I know we're about out of time, but I think we'll probably try to take a couple minutes to get a couple of questions. We have one more question for you all, though. We want to know how many people are watching this program right now. That helps us collect some data.
Yeah, so I see so many great questions as y'all are trying to answer your last question there. I think I have one that I want to touch on first, if that's okay, Amy.
Yeah, you go for it. I see that some of these we actually answered as we were presenting.
Yeah, so one of these questions is really great. What's the biggest mission of SpaceX's launch? That really relates back because we had a session months ago where we talked about it in depth, but I didn't really get into it today. This mission that Bob and Doug were on their way to the space station and back was actually called the Demo 2 mission because it was the final flight test of this spacecraft, of this capsule. So really, the biggest purpose of this mission was to make sure that they could safely launch, safely dock to the International Space Station, stay there for however long, get back in the capsule, and return home safely. So the whole mission was kind of a test to make sure that we can keep doing these sorts of launches with this equipment in the future. So, there's going to be another launch of the Dragon capsule on a Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket in just a few months because of the success of this mission. So really, it was a big test mission to make sure we could do this with humans on board safely.
Okay. Great. And I see there's some interest in seeing the video of the rocket launch from May 30th. We don't have time to show you that, but you can find it online pretty easily. Nick, do you have a suggestion of what people might do an internet search for to find it?
Generally what I do is I go to YouTube and search that way, but just try to search the specific dates. If you want to see the May 30th launch, just make sure to put that in there because some of the names of the missions and things like that can get kind of mixed up and confusing. So you'll just have to try to be as specific as possible.
Yeah, and we put earlier into the chat the NASA, the mission page for the International Space Station as well, if you want to check that out. I don't know, Nick, if you see any you want to answer real quick or not, I'll leave it to you.
They're also good. One last thing just about this current event. I see one that says, how do they know where they're going to land? I think that's a great question because they don't exactly know. As the spacecraft is returning towards Earth, they do some calculations to figure out what zone they estimate it's going to land in. So I think it was late on Saturday night. They knew that it was going to be in the Pensacola zone. So they knew to get the, Coast Guard boats and things like that ready to go out there and fish them out of the water. But we don't know for sure until close to the landing. And we don't know exactly. So that's why it's really important to keep the area where they're going to land safe and clear. So I think that's actually really neat though, because, it's not super duper exact where they're going to plop into the ocean. We have to be ready to go get them wherever they fall. Okay.
Cool. Well, we hope you all will join us next week. We'll be talking about the Perseid meteor shower, which peaks next Tuesday night, August 11th.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, check out our website. It's www.moreheadplanetarium.org. We have all sorts of resources there for you at the Morehead homepage. But if you're a social media person, we also are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we have our own YouTube channel too. So as you're looking for your launches on YouTube, check out the Morehead Planetarium channel because all of these sessions are recorded and put on there eventually. And we also have things like 360-degree planetarium shows where you can interact with the screen and watch some of our shows. And that's a pretty cool resource. So anyway, we hope to see you again next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.